Bonjour, everybody. Hi, I'm Neshi. Welcome to Star Nation's organization's main fan page and to the live stream morning card draw information. This is something that I do every morning, just about, since the beginning of May, and I think I've missed, 2 Sundays. It's because I took a little time off. So welcome to Tuesday, July 11th, 2018, and the card draw for today, the energy. For those who may be watching that don't really know what this live stream is about, back in May, I made the decision that I was going to share the daily card draw that I do anyway, right? And I've been doing that for a really, really, really long time. And then in October of this past year, I made the decision to share, like a sentence or two from the information on our Instagram account for Star Nations. And I thought, well, maybe the Star Nations community would like to hear some of the backstory of the card draw and have kind of like a spiritual roundtable regarding the energy and the essence of the cards. And so we started sharing that in the mornings live stream. And then a couple weeks ago, I added, I'm working actually with Jamie Sam's card deck. Let's see if we get that right here. The Sacred Path cards. It was published by Jamie Sams back in 1990. And I'm also using her Sacred Medicine card deck. And this is the one with the animals, our animal relatives. And this one was published in 1988. The information in the cards are still relevant today. And so we have a nice discussion about the card draws. So in the mornings, what I do is I connect with my spiritual team and I ask, what is the energy that is most important for us to know about today for the highest good for all? And that I can share through Facebook and Instagram. And so I start shuffling and a card pops out and that's the one for the day. And so we take that card and we talk about its essence. Hey, Stephanie's here. Good morning, Stephanie, and good morning, Margaret. I'm so glad you guys are here. After, this is kind of funny, for my evening shows on Tuesday nights called Communications from Home, and the other show hosts actually use the same thing. It's called Be Live TV. It's an app. We're in partnership with them, and they power our live streams, right? For the live stream shows. And this is Elise, somebody who watches almost every day, calls this Neshi's non-show because I haven't really named it and I don't really promote it as an actual show for Star Nation's radio network. But anyway, the app, the Be Live TV app, helps us to do really cool stuff during our shows, like show everybody's comments. We can show pictures. We can interview up to 3 other people, on screen. And so it really does help us to provide, I think, a really rounded show. And so, but when I get here in the mornings and I want to show people's comments, I go to pull it up and put it on the screen and I remember, oh yeah, I'm not using the app. So Stephanie is saying good morning, and so is Margaret. That's what I was trying to get at. Good morning, ladies. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. I don't know what the weather is like by you, but it is gorgeous here again. I keep saying that every day, but it's true. We honestly, we haven't had rain in probably 10 days or more. And it's starting to show, though. It's starting to show the gardens need some watering, and most of my garden plants are indigenous plants like echinacea and black-eyed Susans, and so they can take the stretches without watering. Now I do have some that do need watering, like I don't know, some of the ferns, not all of them, but I like to use indigenous plants because they're meant for this climate. They're meant for this area. And they have really long, deep tap roots, right? And it helps to clean the water table and all of that. So I may have to water tonight or tomorrow morning. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Oh, hey, Maggie. Maggie Wade is with us too. Hello. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. And Erin's here. Good morning, Erin. Giving you a big hug. That's my niece. And Maggie. Maggie, thank you for joining us. And Erin Bougeot. Let's see if I remember this one. I'm trying to learn Potawatomi, right? And to be able to use it correctly. Oh, shoot. Let me think. I'll come up with it. It's a phrase. Hopefully before the end of the show, or maybe at 2:00 in the morning when it comes to my mind and I wake up to it. One of the two. Do you ever do that? You know, you're trying to think of something and you can't pull it out. It's like right there, and then when you least expect it, there it is. Usually 2:00 in the morning, something like that, or at the oddest times. Paul was asking me the other day about something. We've lived in Oklahoma 2 different times for like 6 months each. Paul was going through his officer's training for his military career. And we had made friends with some people from Germany and that were taking the course, the same course that he was. And they lived in an apartment complex. And Paul was trying to remember the name of this complex. And this was like, I don't know, 30 years ago. Like, how am I supposed to remember that? I was walking into the academy yesterday. I was just about to the door and the name popped into my mind, Antigua Bay. And I knew it was after some island and I couldn't quite place it, but that's when it popped in. And that was like 4 days later. So, Erin, I'm going to remember the phrase at some point, and then I will message you it, and or something like that. So Maggie's going, yeah, yeah. I used to blame it on aging process, but I don't do that anymore because you know what? It's not part of the aging process. It's just a lot of stuff in my head is all. So this morning's card is a card that we've had before and have gotten multiple times in the last 3 weeks. Okay. And this is the card, South Shield, Innocence and Inner Child. And I have to say, when I picked up the card from the floor and I turned it over, I said, we're doing this one again? What didn't we cover the last 4 times or 3 times that we got the card? And so I sat with my spiritual team and was asking that question. And you know, the why do we have to go over it again? I mean, I'm willing to do it, but I'd like to know why. And basically what I got was that this is really, really important right now, that we remember that the innocence that we had as children is still there. Many of us get caught up in our daily activities, our daily life, and we don't turn our attention to that part of us, you know, and to be able to relax, to be in the flow, and to have fun, and to find some joy in some part of our day. And so they was telling me that it was important because of our spiritual growth, our energy vibration, that it's really very important when we are grounding our creations, our creativity, our manifestations into the earth plane in the 4th dimension, because that's where grandmother is. Kokmiski Khan, our grandmother earth. That's where she is vibrating at. She's no longer vibrating in the 3rd dimension. In fact, I've been sharing this, what Carl Franklin, is that her vibration is actually already moving into the 5th. And so in order for us to stay with her, we have to have our vibration within a range to be with her. And so many of us who are awake on our earth walk and awake to the fact that we're spiritual beings having this physical life, it's important to remember that we ground those creations to the earth plane through our physical body. And we also know that our emotions is the fuel to bring that creation onto the earth plane. Okay. And no matter what your emotion is. So if you want something positive, a creation is to have positive emotions about it, right? But also the opposite happens, because this earth is still a part of duality. It's a school of duality. Is that the opposite also happens? Because generally speaking, energy is energy. Medicine is medicine. It's what we do with it that makes it positive or negative, right? And so when you're grounding your creation to the earth plane, when it comes to you and you have lower vibrational emotions, guess what's going to be created? The lower version of what you wanted, right? All right, so the south shield represents the innocent of the inner child. That aspect of us that knows joy, knows how to have fun. And we talked about that in the show last night, Communications from Home, about our gifts and what our gifts are. How do we find them? What do we know? How do I even know I have gifts? Well, we all have gifts. We all came in with them. There are our innate gifts given to us by the Creator to use while we're here having this experience. And our experience, our earth walk, is flows through our gifts. They're expressed through our gifts. So generally, we sometimes don't even realize that we're using our innate gifts. We just do it. Because why? Because we're good at it. We didn't have to buy anything. We didn't have to really study much. It's there. And we have fun doing it. So my suggestion is to take a little time and do a little remembering, reflection back. When you were a child, what's the one thing that comes to your mind when you were having fun and having a feeling of joy? Even though your childhood may have not been the best possible childhood, that you had a lot of situations and events and struggles and traumas, there were moments where you felt joy when you were a child. Okay, and grab onto those. What were you doing at the time? Some people last night were talking about how they love to climb trees. That was the one thing they always did. They climbed trees. And as adults, they find themselves drawn to trees and hanging out with the trees, planting trees, taking care of trees. That's part of your gift, is understanding tree medicine. And so, and there's other people who, looking up at the stars, they found joy in that. And so we were talking a little bit about that. Maggie is saying harmonic balance is very important. I always say positive thoughts, positive action. Exactly. And with our innate gifts, the gifts that we came in with, generally speaking, that they're there. You're good at it already, right? If you didn't do anything else with them to master them, to really hone them, to shine them up, you would still be using them. But there's also comes a time, I believe, that we really embrace them. We pick them up and we embrace them and we polish them up. And so they're really shiny and we're good at it, right? And does it have anything to do with your ego? A little bit, because the ego is a part of us, just like the inner child is a part of us, just like our higher self is a part of us. That's the whole being. That's us in our wholeness. We're not bits and pieces. Where our inner child isn't over there and our higher self is up there, and this conscious self is here in this plane of existence. No, we're all together, every piece of us. And I used to tease about pull yourself together, literally pull yourself together, and bring back those aspects of you to be whole, right? All right. So Jamie Sams, what she wrote about the South Shield that kind of jumped out at me this morning when I read over the information again. This is what jumped out at me. She says, in our day-to-day lives, the adult self often forgets to allow the wonder of life's beauty to enter the heart space, and sarcasm takes over. It is during these times that the ego begins to fear the loss of self-esteem and wrecks the best laid plans for using creativity in a positive way. And so I had to sit there with this for a little bit. What does that really mean? And what came to me was that when we create something, many times we won't accept graciously the compliments that come when somebody sees our creation or hears our creation, or is that they'll give us a compliment about it, and we'll say things like, "Oh, it's nothing. In fact, let me show you the imperfections. This, I see it, so I know it's there, and so here's where I made a mistake. There's where I made a mistake," and so we don't take the compliment, and in fact, we take the vibration of that creation and bring it down to point out the things that are not right or perfect with it. Yeah. And that led my thought to constructive criticism. What is constructive criticism? Who came up with that term? Because criticism is criticism. Can you take it and flip it into a positive? Of course you can. What I learned from my experience, not my gifts, my experience from past employments and that sort of thing, is that you start out with a positive first. Don't lead with a criticism. Start out with a positive, and when they start talking about if they start talking about the imperfections, and then talk about the imperfections. Why, to me, it doesn't look like an imperfection. It looks like it was a part of the beauty of it, and that sort of thing. When I was teaching feng shui certification courses, hey, good morning, Rochelle, is with the students, we would do front door evaluations, because that's where energy, chi, comes through your home, is through the architectural front door. And so in feng shui, as a practitioner, you are evaluating the flow of chi, and if there's any adjustments that need to be made in order for chi to come and to flow in a balanced way, right? So we would be driving around neighborhoods and doing front door evaluations. And what I noticed is that almost every student would start out with the criticism, and seeing all the things that were out of alignment, or just because every home has them. Every home has these aspects that are not perfect, and so what I started to do was, you have to say something positive first. Something positive, because our home is a reflection of us. And so if you are talking to the homeowner, and that's a client, would you begin that relationship with that kind of criticism? And of course the answer is no. You wouldn't do that. And so we'd start out with a positive. And you're right, Maggie. It's how it is presented. It's what you start with. And when you get to the point of being real or honest with it, because you were kind, the other aspect of if it is criticism, maybe taken better. I was trying to use a different word there, but better, because it is a learning experience. If there was a situation that in their creation, because they're learning, right? They're learning, is maybe if they would have done it in a different way, and you could talk about that different way, what that would have been like, So what I'm trying to say is that as adults, sometimes what we do is, here's a word you haven't probably heard in a long time. You put the kibosh. You squish it. You squish the creativity. You squish the joy, and sometimes, depending on the person, maybe even they start putting barriers up around their innocence, right? And what I call that our emotional and physical traumas that cause the interference to us vibrating closer to our original vibration, right? And some of that is debris, someone else's debris that needs to be cleared away. And so that's where the healing comes in, and that sort of thing. So we can actually feel the innocence again, because it's still there. It's still there. When I'm making a drum, that time just flies by, and I am in joy. And when I am finished and I look at it, it's like, oh my gosh, it is just plain fun. But there's many, many aspects, to making a drum, and its significance, the meanings, and that's not lost on me by any stretch. But it is the feeling of joy and fun that I have with it. Yeah, and I'm sure the people who are in the live chat, do you have something like that in your life, that when you're creating it, it's like you lose track of the time, and you're more relaxed, or maybe you're having fun. If you're a musician and you're creating music, and having that joyful feeling about it. If you don't have something like that, my suggestion would be is to pick something up, to express your creation. Yeah. Maggie says yes. What is it, Maggie? Tell us what it is, if you don't mind sharing it. Yeah. Rochelle is saying, hello, Rochelle. Normally watch The View, but it's so negative. So listening to you is more positive. Well, thank you. Thank you, Rochelle. Now, I haven't seen The View in years. I mean, like more than a decade. And Rochelle says, I learned so much from you. Well, thank you. Thank you, Rochelle. I'm a conduit. I get to share some information that's coming from spirit. So yeah, thank you. So, because I do find these mornings that we're together fun. I do. I find joy in it. I look forward to it. I do. And I bring my coffee, and so we can share a cup of coffee together, or tea. So Estee is saying wood burning, fire dancing, and tarot. Yes. And Rochelle is drawing with chalk and pastels. Absolutely. Margaret is saying painting. Maggie, beadwork, drawing, and making native items. Yeah, absolutely. My mom has been doing beadwork since she was probably 13 or 14 years old. Definitely around 16. I've heard the stories about the 16-year-old doing beadwork. And she still does. And so I watch that creative process that I've grown up with, seeing it done on a regular basis. But as an adult, and having time with her, and I watch how she begins that process. You can see it starting, the mental thoughts. Well, I don't know what I'm going to do. Let's see. I feel like making something. What I'm not sure. Because at 99, there's something she can't do anymore. She used to make these. These are tobacco pouches, and I use some of them for my cards. And I think she made this one for me when she was like, I want to say 90, 93, maybe 92, something like that. But right now she's working on something like this, very similar to this, and in different colors. And so, that process of what do I want to do? How do I want to make this? Thinking of the design and pulling out the beads and looking at the colors and watching that process unfold. And then when she gets done with it, even at 99, she will point out her mistakes. It's like, but Mom, it's so pretty. It's like, yeah, but there's a mistake here. I could have gone back to fix it, but that would have meant that I had to redo practically the whole thing. And so she'll leave the mistake in there. Now, there's some tribal nations who believe that you should put a mistake in there because the only thing that is perfect is the creator. And so there's that imperfection that's added to it. So Margaret saying painting. Jocelyn, good morning, Jocelyn. And Rochelle, oh, yes, it is beautiful. It really is. And she has taught us how to make these. I think, Erin, if you're still in the chat, she has given like Erin a sample of how to do the stitching. And now I haven't actually sat down to make one. I'd rather make a drum. Bigger items. I know how to do beadwork. It's the patience level for me to size the beads and that sort of thing. So the Innocence, for those who are just joining, this is the card that we pulled. We've talked about this before, and it's a South Shield, the Innocence and Inner Child. And there was one other piece that jumped out at me. Jamie Sams writes that the seriousness of the adult cannot wreck your relationships with others if you honor the child's wisdom of balancing the sacredness with the irreverent. All things have their place and time. They allow laughter to bring balance to the sense of self. So when we're always serious, we take everything serious, we miss out on some of the joy and some of the laughter. To have, we try to have at least one good laugh a day around here. And sometimes, it doesn't happen until nearly bedtime, but it happens. And so to honor the child's wisdom of balancing the sacred and the irreverent. And sometimes some people would tell you that that's out of place. Stop that. Because it's supposed to be a serious moment. Or some people are so serious that you're joking around and they take it to heart, and you can see that it's wounded them, and I feel sorry about that. But then again, loosen up. and it wasn't meant to be mean. It wasn't meant to be mean-spirited, and I try to explain that. Let's see. Rochelle says, my fine motor skills don't work as good as gross motor skills. Yeah. That's not my motor skills are pretty darn good. It's just I prefer to work with larger pieces rather than the smaller. Erin says, everyone has their own creative outlets. Yes, they do. And if we did the same thing, it would be boring. Yes, it would. It definitely would. Unless we look at it from the direction of it's expressed through the individual. And so if you're making the same piece, it's not going to look the same and it's not going to feel the same, right? A good friend of mine went to a workshop. She's down in Iowa. And she went to a workshop. She was invited by a friend of hers down there. They made tiaras. You're going, what? Yeah, they're making crowns. And what the teacher did was they're working with crystals and stones. And so they come in packets. And so you could make an amethyst crown. Okay. And so the band is there, and the copper wiring and the stones or the crystals are already drilled and everything. And so basically you're you're working with the raw materials to create this tiara. Not one of them were the same, and yet most of them were working with the same stones or crystals, because the selection pool was limited to certain stones and crystals. Now, my friend, who is an artist, came up with the idea is like, all right, if I buy one and you buy one, we could mix and match. I'll give you half of mine if you give me half of yours. And so theirs turned out much different than everybody else in the class. And the feeling was different because it was coming through their filters, through their gifts. Yeah. I'm going to find this teacher, and I'm going to ask her to come to Wisconsin to teach that class, I think. Yeah, I think that'd be fun. Maggie is saying they have large Legos. Those are fun, Michelle. Oh, okay. All right. There we go. All right. So the South Shield. Let's see. What else did Jamie say? She says, to know the joy of using your body, developing the skill and grace that comes with play, allows the body to rid itself of tensions of the adult world. So when we were kids, do you remember playing like kickball and those kinds of games? I remember, now this is dating me. I remember the smaller balls, and you'd throw it up against the wall, and you'd have like I think it was 7-Up. Wasn't it 7-Up, called 7-Up? And there was a game, because that way you didn't need to have another person to play it. It was fun if you had another person to play that same game, but you could do that easily by yourself. Or Chinese jump rope. And as an adult, how about some Zumba? I mean, that is all out fun. And there's also another dance kind of exercise kind of thing for adults. See, if we pair it up with exercise, then we think it's justified to have fun, that we're just not wasting our time, that we're actually being productive and having fun at the same time, right? Right. Was Maggie saying was more of a play in the mud kid? Yeah. At the bottom of our driveway, at my parents' or my childhood home, down at the bottom of the driveway, it wasn't a paved driveway, and so down at the bottom it was sand, and it was like this huge sandbox. And so we'd go down there and we would build things out of the sand. We'd make roads, and we'd have the cars. Sometimes we'd take water down there with us and build things with the sand. Absolutely. I remember I made my youngest brother eat it was supposed to be like a pancake or something that I made out of the sand. He said, "Here, taste it. It's really, really good." He still remembers that. And we were just really little when we did that. But, as we were growing up, we'd take the nieces down there, and we would do sand games down there too. Yeah. So yes, playing in the mud, or jumping in puddles. How many adults do you see do that? Hardly any. And Rochelle, she says, loved 7-Up. That was the name of it, right? Right. Yeah. And so, that playtime as an adult, we do need that. And when I read that it helps to release the tension, I thought, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It really does. And what do we do as adults to do that, to release that tension? And that's when my mind went to the Zumba and the dance, because I love to dance. And when I write something in a post that's encouraging to somebody, or like a high five and I'm happy for them, and I say dancing in the kitchen, happy dancing in the kitchen, I really am dancing in the kitchen. And so as adults, we try to justify it that, okay, we're doing some exercise and this is good for me. And so now I can have fun because I'm being productive with it. Jamie also says that you must now see the value of trust. Know that you may always trust every living thing to be exactly who and what they are at that given moment. Because trust is another thing that kind of mistrust, let's call it that, is another layer of debris over that innocence. And with usually good reason why you don't trust a certain person. But that doesn't mean that it should take your innocence away, your joy away. You can have them in your life across the room. You don't even have to have them in your life. If they are taking and causing you to put up barriers and to have that mistrust. And in that child innocence, we trust. We do. We trust. And so if we can, I think this is the harder piece to it as adults, because we know the reason why we don't trust that person. And so getting to the point of being able to remove that energy from you, and so that your innocence isn't hijacked by someone else and taken away. All right. Aaron's saying, I remember Anna, Cody, and I playing in the driveway. Yep, good reminder. As a Virgo, sometimes I forget to play. I know. And as a triple Sag, I'm going, and I've got like 10 different projects going at one time, and so to fit play in there, it's like, oh, how am I supposed to do that? Okay, and so as an adult, I find where do I have the most fun? I have the fun making drums. I have fun dancing. I have fun playing trivia. If nothing else, I try to find at least part of. I haven't watched a whole movie in a long time. Just busy, and so sometimes I get to watch parts of a movie. And so if I get a chance to watch a movie, I'm going to pick one where I'm going to laugh. I don't want one that's going to scare the bejeebas out of me, or that's so violent. But something that's going to make me laugh. Now, don't get me wrong. I have a thing about swords, and so if there's certain choreography with sword fights that I enjoy watching, I do. I know most people don't realize until I tell them that I have a thing about Kill Bill 1 and 2. But it started out with the use of the sword. Maggie says, make your work play. Yeah, you can. You absolutely can. But when we do that, Maggie, wouldn't you agree that that's because we're using our gifts and working with our gifts, having our gifts be a part of our work. And that's how we're expressing our soul, is through the use of our gifts. I think we're onto something to that. I really do. And the thing is that it's going to the mental mind. It's getting the mental mind, that part of us, saying, oh yeah, okay, I can understand that. I can see the logic to that. I get that. And it becomes easier. Why? Because we're in the flow. Our whole being is in the flow. And some people would say that we're aligned. And it's true. It's true. Rochelle says, love those movies, Kill Bill 1 and 2. I know. Donde está Bill? Where is Bill? It's a joke around here. Here's another one. When you can destroy the illusion of who you are to others and be yourself, you will have restored your innocence. Yeah, I'm going to say that one more time because I think that's really important. When you can destroy the illusion of who you are to others and be yourself, you will have restored your innocence. And wouldn't you agree that it takes less energy to be yourself than to have this mask or the facade up? It takes a lot of energy to keep that in place. It does. And it also is a barrier becomes a barrier to your innocence and to your creativity, because I find it difficult, found it difficult to create and not be myself. Then you're making something that someone else wants you to do. Where's the fun in that? And where'd the creativity go? Right out the window. Maggie, I'm always myself. Don't care what people think. And it's great. And the road to get there, because there's I think there's a stretch of time, a stretch of experience when we learn that it's better to be ourselves, because we've experienced the opposite. It's not fun. It's not. And especially when you get tired and you can't keep that facade up, that mask up, and when it starts to drop, that is when that old saying about getting pushed off the pedestal. A lot of spiritual teachers go through that. I can think of at least two of them in my head right now. When their students no longer see them as being really human and having a human life and an earth walk, and thinking that they have to be this way or that way, because that is the image that was given to them, and I think of somebody like James Ray. Do you remember him with The Secret? He was part of The Secret video. And then he did that thing out in Arizona with the sweat lodge, and people died, and he was found guilty, and he went to prison for a while. I think it was 2 years or 3. And when he was let out, when he was released, it was stipulated that he could not teach certain classes, certain ways of being. Could not. And a lot of his followers, were really shocked, I guess is a good word, shocked about what happened. But see, that, to me, that is a dramatic way of being shown when you're out of alignment and not being your true self. Yeah. Let's see. And Rochelle's saying she's agreeing with Maggie. Be yourself. Don't care what other people think. Maggie is also saying my nickname is Peanut. Rochelle is, mine is Rocky, and Rocky or Rocket. Oh yeah, I could see that. Rochelle, I could see that. Now, if we're going with nicknames, I've got 2. Well, maybe more than that, come to think of it. Neshi is actually a nickname off from my full Native American name, my Indian name, that was given to me by my Misho, my grandfather, when I was just a toddler. And he's the one who started calling me Neshi. It's Beneshi Kwa. And Neshi, it's bird woman. And so Neshi is bird in Potawatomi. And so he's the one who started calling me that. And then when he walked on in 1978, the only time I ever heard it was actually when I read it, is when my mom would put it into a birthday card or something like that. My birth name, I can't say it's my English name because it's not. It's Yvette, right? It's French. And so in high school, my nickname was Corvette. Little Red Corvette. I liked it. Well, that was before Prince made the song. Yeah. And there's one that, because my maiden name was Camacho, and so there's always Macho Camacho kind of thing. And, yeah. Yep. That was more for my brothers, though. I was Corvette. So she says that it is a gift for others to see that reflection, so that we may drop the mask of their fear and see that they also hold the beauty of their inner child. It's when we actually when we drop the mask and the reflection is our closer to our true self, or if not our true self, and how we reflect that to others. It gives them the ability to be able to be themselves when they're with us, right? Yeah, I like that. And it's much more fun. So the application of the card, here for those people who might just be joining us, the application of the South Shield card is that this is marking a time of returning to the childlike parts of ourselves that need no support from the ego. It's balance work with play and sacred irreverence. In other words, you need to lighten up a bit. Drop the tight parts, she says. In all cases, the South Shield cards insist that the child within is trying to teach you something about how to handle a situation, listening and trusting. Remember, playfulness heals a world of woes. Playfulness heals a world of woes. And I think it's because when we're playful, we're more relaxed, you know? And really, we can hear our spiritual guidance so much better. It's clearer, you know? Yeah. Stephanie is saying, I'm going to have to listen to the replay. My phone keeps ringing. Okay, Stephanie. That's good. Yeah, that's why we have the replays, right? And why we have those recordings. Because we can't always make it for every single one. And here's the poem. I like Jamie Sams as a poet. I think she's really good, a really good poet. This is what she writes about the South Shield. Red Earth, South Shield. Child filled with wonder, teach me to yield. Laughter is your giveaway, in innocence and joy, tricking me into the place of little girls and boys. South Shield. Now, what I do is I ask my spiritual team which one of our animal relatives will be able to help us to understand with clarity and in a deeper way the essence of the card that was drawn. So in the essence of the South Shield, okay? And this is who came out. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Otter, playful. Look at that. Isn't he so cute? I like the artwork on these cards. The otter. A lot of people probably don't even consider the otter. I remember as a kid in grade school, on occasion we would have these movies, and it was put out by Disney usually. And we'd all be in the gymnasium, you know, and they'd have it on the big screen. And one of them was about an otter. And I remember that because of the playfulness and the happiness. And you could hear the kids laughing, you know, and it was joyful. It was joyful. So when Otter came up, I had to smile. It was like, this is good stuff. So this is what Jamie Sams writes about the otter. The otter in Jamie Sams' world, it means woman medicine. And I'm going, woman medicine? What is that about? Well, she says that the medicine held by Otter is a set of lessons in female energy. The otter's hide itself is often used to make medicine bags for powerful men and women because it represents a balance of female energy. And when I read that, I thought, because, you know, Jamie Sams writes from her perspective, and her perspective comes from her roots in her Seneca heritage. And so that's where she's writing from. And when I read that sentence, my memory went to watching my mom repair medicine pouches for people in the medicine lodge. And she never charged them for it. She, you know, that was sacred work. And so she would do the mending of the medicine pouches and the medicine bags. And sometimes, many times, they were otters. and just this quick flash of a memory of the beadwork on the paws and that sort of thing. Yeah. So that was a good memory that popped up. And honestly, I think that lends to some of her longevity, is that kind of spiritual work that she did way back when. So she says that otter is very caring of its young. It lives on land, but also has a home near water. She says that the personification of femininity, the body is long and sleek and graceful. Otter is always on the move and very curious. Well, they won't start fights, but they will fight if they're attacked. They're peaceful. They're joyful and adventuresome, and assumes that all other creatures are friendly unless proven otherwise. Yeah. Otter teaches us the balance of female energy and is not jealous or catty. All right, so out of balance female energy, whether you're a woman gender or a man gender, because we have both in us, right? Male and female energies. So when our female energy is out of balance, the out of balance parts of us, that's where the jealousy comes out, that's where the envy comes out, those are the shadow aspects of ourselves when that is out of balance. And our male energies can also be out of balance. When we're in balance is when we are supportive and creative and kind and compassionate, right? When we're in balance. And when she talks about the out of balance, is that she's talking about when we're suspicious, of everything anybody's doing, and when we're out of balance. And so the trust level is very low, She says, anchored in the understanding that all accomplishments are worthwhile for the whole of the nation, the whole of the tribe. Otter people express joy for others. We're good cheerleaders. We want to see people succeed. We want to celebrate in their success, right? We want a happy dance for them, because it's a joyful place to be when you're cheering someone else on. She says that otters is the freeness of love without jealousy. She's saying that it may be time to examine your feelings about sharing the bounty of your life with others. Otter may be telling you to become the playful child and simply allow things to unfold in your life, to be in the flow. Otter teaches us the importance of not hanging on to material things that would bind or become a burden. You might look at the joyousness of the receptive side of nature. The female side of nature is receptive, receiving. And look at how well you receive. Do you receive compliments, and by saying thank you, I appreciate that? Those are kind of, thank you for your kind words. Or are you not receiving the compliment? No, it's not really me. It's not that. It's not. You're not receiving it. So it's something to keep in mind, or to at least to notice it. Just to notice it, because once you notice something like that, you think, oh, okay, how do I do that different? I want to do it differently. And then you start with the thought, I want to do it differently, and then the behavior follows, right? Become otter and move gently into the river of life. Flow with the waters of the universe. This is the way of balanced female receptive energy. Otter. And so now pairing it up with the South Shield and the Innocence and Inner Child, Otter can help us to understand that part of us in a deeper way, with some clarity. So we have to be thankful for Otter showing up, right? Show us about that. The other one that showed up is the dragonfly. And this is about illusion. Dragonfly's shifting of color, energy, form, and movement explodes into the mind of the observer, bringing vague memories of a time or place where magic reigned. And Jamie Sams talks about dragonfly medicine always beckons to seek out the parts of our habits which you need to change. And that if you feel the need for change, call on Dragonfly to guide you through the mists of illusion to the pathway of transformation. And so for me, that was helping us to understand those shadow aspects of ourselves and how to change those, how to heal them, how to become and be the real us, dropping the illusion, dropping the mask, being the real us. And when we do that, we can feel the real joy. Yeah. So these two came out. We got to be thankful, gratitude to Dragonfly and Otter for helping us to understand the essence of the South Shield card and how it unfolds for us today. So as your day progresses, and I do wish you a good rest of the day, is just notice how the energy flows to you, around you and through you, how the information that we talked about and shared about today, how you can witness that or you can be in a direct participant in it. Either way, it's a blessing. Either way, it's good, right? And as always, take what resonated with you. If that can be helpful to you, yay! That makes me happy. But if it didn't resonate with you or any aspect of what we shared, that's okay too. Just let it go. Wasn't for you. And maybe we were just planting seeds. Who knows? But just take what felt good, what resonated with you, and see how it fits into your day as it unfolds. Yeah. And as a side note, if you are interested in healing, if you're a healer, a light worker, and haven't taken care of yourself in a while, you might want to join Polly Jo LeBay at that'd be 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Chakra Sessions fan page. She does this show. It's not really a show. It's an hour of healing and divine messages for soul connections. And so, maybe we'll be working on removing some of the debris that interferes with our innocence, right? All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for tomorrow's card draw. So until then, Bama Mina, until we see each other again.